Yeah, I remember when I went on my official visit, and it's like you walk around, you go through the facilities, you meet with the coaches. But like one of the big things was like they wanted you with the players, right? Like we went out one of the
Yeah.
nights and they try to show you how fun it is, right? So I think it's good for parents and players to know like these official visits aren't just like walk around the school, walk around the facilities, talk about football, do one-on-ones. Like it's also like they want you to understand the environment, the atmosphere, hanging with the players, going out at night.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
What's going on? This is Richie Contartesi, as well as my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of Division I college football recruiting experience. And today we're going to be talking about everything visits, official visits, how they work, how the rules have changed, how you could use these to your advantage, and how to, I guess, ask whether it's official, unofficial, what to do, when to do it, the whole 9 yards. But I think, Brian, a good starting point would be, how did official visits work before, and how did they work throughout the divisions, right? You got five official visits total that you could go on, and you had to choose and you had to decide on which would be the best five. How did it work before?
Yeah, so you kind of nailed it. Like before you had 5 opportunities to go on official visits, so you had to essentially pick 5 schools that you wanted to go to. If you had multiple opportunities, you could only pick 5 schools to go on an official visit to. So schools were scrambling trying to get official visits out of guys they really liked. So you were basically fighting other schools simply to get the official visit from the kid. And now that varied through divisions. You still had 5, but official visits look very different depending on the division. Financially and things like that. Some of the lower divisions, it's only one day, or something like that. So it depends on their financial, availability, how that works in the lower divisions. But that's how it was before. You got 5 schools, you picked your 5, and those are the only 5 you could go to on official visits. Um, so you really had to narrow it down. If you had several opportunities, you had to be really selective about, which ones you pick because you only got 5.
Yeah, and let's just, so everyone, just for those that aren't familiar with what official visit is, right? You have unofficial visits where the athlete's paying their way, and then you have official visits where the school is covering travel costs and then room when you're there, as well as food. What else? Like when you were at Arkansas, what did you guys cover on official visits?
Yeah, it's everything. So in the Division 1 for sure, they cover everything. So you cover the travel costs. So you can cover plane flights, hotel rooms while you're there. You could pay for all their meals. It was essentially they didn't pay for anything other than if they wanted to buy some things while they were there, gear, sweatshirts or school paraphernalia or anything like that. But outside of that, it's all costs included in the official visits. So it was a really really nice deal. You could bring the whole family. I'm just using a round number of 4. Now, once you got more than that, there became some waiver processes and things like that. So there was a limit of people, that you could pay for. But just say a basic family of 4 people, you could pay for the whole trip essentially, outside of any money they wanted to spend on their own. And it's
Yeah.
40, it's
So
48 hours. You had 48 hours with them.
is that the rule? Only 48 hours?
Yeah, and it starts once they hit campus. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So you
so
didn't have to
what
you didn't have to count going to pick them up from the airport and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. So what for I'm just thinking in terms of the athlete side of the table, right? Like, what would be like, do you suggest players going on as many official visits as they've been offered? Like, what's your thought process around how many official visits? Because now, like you said, it's unlimited. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
So now with it being unlimited, which is kind of crazy, you know what I mean, to be honest with you. But, you can go, it doesn't affect the kids at all. It affects the kids, but, it affects the schools more, to be honest with you. But on the athlete side, I'm not sure I think it depends on how many opportunities you have, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you've got 15 or 20 schools that want you to come on official visits, I mean, that's a lot because one, you've got to find the time to do them all. A lot of
Right.
people don't like doing them during the season anymore. They'd rather you come unofficially to a game and see the game day atmosphere and all that stuff because you don't get to spend as much time with the coaches. If you do an official visit during the season. So a lot of people are trying to move them now to spring and summer visits. And if you've got that many and you try to go to that many, like you're going to be gone a lot. So
Yeah.
I would still tell them to narrow it down to maybe under 10 or so, just so you're not, going all the time. You know what I mean? You're going to spend a lot of time traveling if you do that many visits. So I would recommend to them, once it gets a little closer, when you're heading into the end of your junior year, school year, not your season, but like when you're going to do a lot of the visits, like in the spring and summer leading into your senior year. I would still narrow it down to a manageable, number under 10 or otherwise you're going to be going on. Now that may be your thing. If that's your thing and you don't care, you can go on trips, every weekend for 2 months if you want, you know what I mean? But I would still narrow it down so you can, and by narrowing it down, I think it helps you make a better decision too, because you can kind of focus on those coaching staffs and what they have to offer and really get a better fit. If you got too much, too many ingredients in the pot, sometimes that can, kind of muddy the water a little bit. So,
Yeah. So outside of the official visits, right? Like when I went through the recruiting, I went on 2 official visits, and then there was also a lot of unofficial visits, right? Where
yeah,
schools wanted me to come, but they weren't willing to do an official visit.
yeah.
So what are your thoughts from like from a recruiting standpoint of a school? Hey, we want to offer you a visit. I think the first question we need to ask is it official, unofficial, right? And then from there, being able to make a decision based on financially doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and typically, based on your class year too, you know what I mean. They're typically, they're not going to bring anybody on an official visit that's not a, upcoming senior or a senior. So really any visit that you would get offered if you're not either getting ready, if you're not in the spring or summer heading into your senior year or already in your senior year, every visit they're going to offer you is going to be unofficially. That's how you can, kind of
Even
sift
even
through
at
those.
the bigger Division 1 level.
Yeah, for instance, you're not going to bring a guy on an official visit before his junior year, because you don't even know if you
Mhm.
like him that much yet. I mean, he's got 2 full seasons to play. So they're not going to bring you on they're not going to know if they really like you enough to spend the money on an official visit till after your junior year,
Mhm. Well,
heading
now
in
with
at
kids
the earliest.
committing though so freaking young,
Yeah.
isn't there also that, and I'm really talking about the higher levels. Isn't there also that piece where you're like, man, maybe we gotta bring this guy in before we lose this opportunity too.
Yeah, but you can't bring them in but so early anyway, just by the rules.
So let's talk
They
about that. What is the rule with official
Well,
visits?
I don't know if they've changed the date and stuff, so I don't want to give out any bad information. But either way, there's no way anybody, if they're committed, not committed, there's no way and we're talking Power Four here. There's no way a Power Four school is going to bring any of those guys and spend the money on an official visit till they feel really good about it and after their junior year. So it may be in the spring of their junior year, it may be in the summer. The heavy wave now is to come in the summer because the kids have a lot more time off. Obviously, coaches can spend a ton of time with you. Usually the weather's better. at all those places. So most of the time, if you got a high priority kid that's getting ready to go into his senior year, you're going to get him in this summer before his senior year.
Got it. Okay. Um, for recruits, right? Because obviously we work with a lot of recruits. When they
Yeah.
get offered a visit, what are some of the questions that they need to ask to determine whether it's official, unofficial? And, what are some of the questions that you suggest they ask the coach?
Well, if you're in that time frame I'm talking about, whereas you finished your junior year, you just need to simply ask, are you looking to bring me up for like an unofficial visit, or are you guys looking to bring me up for an official visit? You just need to cut right to it. You know what I mean? And they'll just flat out tell you, because they have to determine that, because financially, like we talked about, if they're bringing you for an official visit, there are things they can take care of for you financially, where unofficially they can't. Unofficial visit is on your own dime. So if you're in that area of your recruitment, then you just need to simply ask, which one they're trying to bring you up for, and typically, if it's a game day visit or something like that, typically now they're all unofficial. But if you're in that window, you still need to ask, hey, we'd love, if they say something like, we'd love to get you up for a game next year, and you're going to be a senior that year, you probably need to ask, are you trying to, bring me up unofficially or officially, coach? You know what I mean? So it's really a straightforward question. If you don't know, it's really a straightforward question. But again, if you're not in that time frame of your recruitment, it's 99% sure it's not going to be official. It's going to be unofficial.
Yeah. Okay. And then as far as just like also the different types of visits, right? We've got game day visits, we've got different types of visits.
Yeah.
Um, are most guys like official visits today? I mean, most guys are actually, I think this week we had a game day visit that was also an official visit. So they
Yeah.
like stayed over the weekend.
Yeah.
But typically they're not, right?
Correct. Yeah. Like I said, and now some of the lower divisions, they'll do a game day visit, because sometimes it's harder to get them back 2 times. So they'd rather get the most bang for their buck and be able to do the official visit around the game day, because they can just do more, and they can sell more all at one time, because it may be harder to get the kids back and forth, one on their own dime and then getting them back on their dime. But so you do see some, and you still see it at some of the higher levels. Some guys still, that can't get out for a game. You'll still see a handful of them, go on game day visits that are official visits. You just don't see very much of them anymore. Again, because you don't get to spend as much time with the coaches, because they're focused on winning the game and coaching the game and meeting. So you're spending time with a lot more of the support staff than you are the actual coaches.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I went on my official visit, and it's like you walk around, you go through the facilities, you meet with the coaches, but like one of the big things was like they wanted you with the players, right? Like we went out one of the
Yeah.
nights, and like they try to like show you how fun it is, right? So I think it's good for parents and players to know like these official visits aren't just like walk around the school, walk around the facilities, talk about football, do one-on-ones. Like it's also like they want you to understand the environment, the atmosphere, hanging with the players, going out at night. How did you guys do it at Arkansas?
Yeah, and we wanted to make sure too that like all of every resource we had touched them while they were there. So again, it wasn't all football, but they were going to get an academic presentation. Depending on what level you're going to. We did an NIL presentation. Nutrition in the weight room had a time blocked in there. Player development. So we wanted to make sure they got all the information possible from all the resources we had available to them. So that filled up a lot of time too, as well. And obviously we would show them the football facilities and have football meetings to show them, how we were going to use them, do campus tours. So they saw the campus, all that basic stuff. And also, we did a player panel where we only had players in there. There were no coaches in there, and it was just the parents and the official visit guys in there, and they could ask the players anything they wanted, without having to worry about coaches being in there or anything like that, because we had nothing to hide. And if you really wanted to know how we coached our guys and how we treated our guys, that was a good time to find out. from our players who were actually playing there. And then, we had some really fun stuff in there. We go to Top Golf, the meals were a big thing. We'd have really nice meals with them. So we got to sit down and eat and visit with them and really get to know them, and just expand on those relationships. And if you do all that stuff, those 48 hours get filled up pretty quickly. So,
yeah, totally. I mean, it flies by super fast and they're fun, right? They're really fun. But I think it's good for parents to understand, like, from the school's perspective, what they're trying to accomplish, right? Like, they're trying to show you, like, hey, this is what the active players think about us, right? Like, you guys want them to know that, especially, I mean, if you have something to hide, maybe you don't, but like,
that's right. And
good
and
luck
they're selling your
recruiting today and
program.
that.
That's why they brought you up there. They're fighting, obviously, to get your son to sign with them. So they want to show you everything they have available, to try to get his signature at the end of the day. So they are selling themselves. They're going to put their best foot forward, So that's really the idea of the official visit, is to be able to take some financial burden off the family, but also, to get you there and show you everything they have to offer, in order to try to get you to sign with them at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I mean, I think it was a really important topic is to just talk about visits, right? Like, because a lot of people are getting visits. It's that time of the year. But understanding when visits happen, what happens on these visits, what are the coaches thinking about, and also what you can do on these visits to get the most out of it, right? Make sure you're with the players, asking questions. You should be meeting one-on-one with the coaches, and really getting to know why they want you, how they feel you could be a potential fit for their program. It's a great opportunity to ask these questions. So, Brian, is there anything else that you want to share on official visits before we jump?
I would just say, typically, you're going to, I don't think there's very few schools, if any, that are going to bring you there and not visit with the position coach and or the head coach or both. So I would just encourage, families, if you don't already know, or if you're skeptical about it, find out if your offer, most time they're not going to, sometimes you already have an offer when they bring you on the official visit. Sometimes they want to bring you on the official visit to offer you. Sometimes they want to bring you on the official visit just to feel you out and get to know your family before they decide to offer you. So my advice would just to be no matter where that is, kind of find out where you are, in the process before you leave. If you have an offer and you're not, planning on committing while you're there, just make sure your offer is committable, before you leave. Ask, is your offer still committable, before you leave, which means you can call them at any time and say, I want to come, and they're going to take you. So I would find out if your offer is committable. And then if you don't have an offer, just find out kind of where you are on the board, or in the not necessarily, you don't have to ask where I'm at on the board, but you can ask where you are in the process and what they need to see from you going forward to try to get an offer, and things like that. So I would just encourage to really find out where you are in their eyes before you leave the visit, if you don't already feel good about what that is.
Absolutely. And one of the things we teach all our guys is, when you're leaving, hey, coach, if you don't have an offer, to ask what you need to do to earn one, right? Make it about you doing the work to earn one, not like, hey, I deserve this or get this. No. What do I need to do to earn one? And then do what they tell you to do. That's a question that you can ask. It's not going to hurt a coach's feelings. And they'll let you know where you stand. And so, awesome. All right, good stuff, Brian. Appreciate you jumping on here as always, brother. I know you have a lot with all of our athletes, as our head coach, but appreciate you taking the time. And for all of you out there, if you enjoyed this podcast, and you want to watch the last podcast that we did, we launched these every single week. Super valuable. We're always sharing what's going on in the now and what you need to do because of it. If you got value from this and you're watching this on Apple or Spotify, it'll help us out if you leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.